Before we get started with today's episode, check out the Sheaux Some Nola Experience online. It's a monthly subscription opportunity to experience New Orleans wherever you are and support the local businesses that make the city special. That's SHEAUX, somenola.com. Enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Sheaux Some Nola Experience. I am your host, Jonathan Floyd, the owner of Box of Care Gift Company. This episode features somebody who I've seen a lot of places, who's been a lot of places. I've seen her in my gift boxes as well. But for time purposes, I'm going to highlight two of the things, two places where I've seen her. One is in Oprah magazine, and another is on the Today Show, the Today Show, National Today Show. And we'll talk about those things later, but I've got Tiffany Brown, the owner of Wicks Nola. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I would consider you a friend in business,
right?
A friend in general, and we've had some great conversations. So we're gonna do what we usually do every time we sit down today. So first things first, you're from Kenner, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
Yes. So born Charity Hospital in New Orleans, but grew up in Kenner. I would say close to Jefferson Highway, that side of the tracks. Later moved to up Williams Boulevard. Went to school in Metairie. My parents drove us to school every morning. And then I didn't actually start going to school in Kenner until middle school. Went to Adams.
I went to Adams.
Oh, you did?
I didn't know that.
Went to Adams.
I went to Adams.
Yep. And then went to Bonneville, graduated from Bonneville. But I grew up in Lincoln Manor. For the most part of my life, I'd say. But yeah, I love Kenner.
I spent a lot of time in Lincoln Manor.
Really?
So my grandmother lived on 31st in Huntsville.
Okay.
So that's at the front, towards the front of Lincoln Manor.
So 31st Huntsville. What's your grandmother's name?
Marion Floyd. 3045 Huntsville Street. I spent a lot of my life there. My grandpa, he passed away in 99, but he used to have he used to have a million cars out there. That was like the thing. People knew their house.
So I know like the Bates.
They live across the street from the Bates.
Okay, so they all were on the other side.
Literally,
okay.
I mean, like,
and then
I grew up.
Percy Young and the Youngs and all those. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Literally grew up across the street from that.
Okay.
Well, they did. I mean, I used to, every day after school, I'd go there. So, okay. So that's, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I was on 31st in Albany. So we lived right across the street from Cypress Grove Church.
I know what that is.
Yeah. On that corner.
Okay, interesting. Kenner. I mean, it's not that big.
No, it's
you're familiar, but I definitely spent a lot of time in Lincoln Manor, even walking up and down 31st or whatever. So
it was like people always felt like it was like the hood, but Kenner was always like kind of safe hood.
Oh, Kenner
not
is
really
Kenner
like
is safe.
So.
Kenner
you felt comfortable, walking at nighttime. And, I grew up like working at the Popeyes. That was like my first job off of Loyola.
Okay.
So even in high school, I would walk to work every day, even late at night, getting off, I would close and walk back home. Never felt like, something was going to happen to me. I always felt safe in Kenner,
That Popeyes had a buffet. Do you remember that?
They did. Yes. I was there when we started it. Yes.
It was one of the few, I think in like the state of Louisiana, like a whole bunch had shut down. And it was that one, and there's one in Lafayette that I went to that had the buffet.
Yes.
And then they shut down the buffet at the Kenner one.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know why that happened, but yes, I was there when they like implemented the buffet, and we loved going on lunch break because we would all eat the buffet for lunch. But yes, it used to be really good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we I guess spent time in the same places.
Yeah.
Okay, so grew up in Kenner, Lincoln Manor. Fast forward to 2018. Let's talk about the start of Wicks Nola. So why candles? Like what got you to that point?
Well, I actually owned a business prior to Wicks Nola. I actually owned a medical billing company, and I've been in healthcare administration side for probably the past 15 years, doing like office management, things like that. But I also had gone to school to do billing and coding. So just through working in the offices and doing billing, a lot of it, I would have doctors approach me a lot of times asking if I would help them with billing issues they were having, problems getting claims paid and things like that. So I finally started working for a doctor, and it went really well. And he started telling friends about me, and they started inquiring about my services. So at that point, I was like, hey, maybe I could quit my full-time job and just do this billing thing. And it actually took off. I started advertising services. There were a lot of changes happening with insurance, and a lot of doctors were losing money because they weren't sure how to bill different things. So I started hiring people to help me with that. I started out of my house and then opened the space in Destrehan. Did that for like 2 or 3 years. But even at that point, I just got tired of, I felt like running behind doctors to get my money because I would charge like a percentage of their collections. Well, they would get paid and then they would be responsible for paying me on the back end. But I felt like I was having to wait a lot of times because they weren't paying us a priority. Then at that time, I had employees to pay. I had like 5 people working for me. A lot of times I would pay them and then I was waiting for my own check at the end of the day, which caused me to get behind on bills and just things like that because, like I said, I had to pay my people first. Did that for a while and then I was like, this is just not for me anymore. I'm tired of doing this. So I called my boss from my last job and I asked her if I could come back. She was happy to take me back. So I went back to managing a pediatric office in Kenner, Cypress Pediatrics. Did that for like a year and I was okay with it, but I did miss just the freedom that I had from working on my own. Like going back to working for somebody when you worked for yourself, it's hard because you kind of have that freedom to kind of come and go as you want. You work when you want at your own pace. So I just started thinking of what else I could do to step out from that full-time job situation. And I thought candles. I've always loved fragrance. We burn candles at the house all the time, me and the kids. We catch the sales when they would happen. I'd have a candle burning in one room, the kids burning candles in another room. So I had an idea to kind of center it around the city of New Orleans. So I think it might have been like Thanksgiving. My sisters and all of them were over at the house and we kind of sit down and have a conversation. I came out with my little notebook like, y'all, I've been thinking about starting to make candles and I want to make them like centered around the city. What do y'all think? So we all kind of sat around that day brainstorming ideas of names and, you know, you kind of write stuff in a notebook and a lot of times you end up putting it to the back of the drawer and you don't ever look at it again. But something with that really stuck with me and I really wanted to make that happen. So I started like researching online. You know, now you can Google and YouTube everything.
Correct.
So just started looking at the ingredients in the candles, how to make candles, and I just started slowly buying things. And after buying things, I started trying to make stuff, and I would give it to my family and friends, and they were like, these are actually really good. You might want to consider looking to doing this on a full-time basis. So then I started signing up for little markets and stuff here around town, and I got really good feedback from the products that we were selling. And at first, all I did was candles. All the other stuff didn't come until much later. But we were getting really good feedback from the candles, and people love the names. And I feel like I've always been really creative on that side as far as coming up with catchy songs and names. Like growing up, I wanted to be a rapper, not
not singer.
I wanted to be a rapper.
Not singer, rapper.
Not
okay.
singer,
Nothing wrong with that.
A rapper. I sang in the choir as well, but I wanted to be a rapper like Latifah, Foxy Brown.
Okay,
Lil
yeah, you're right.
Kim.
That was a different era.
My,
yeah, it's a different era.
Yes,
yeah, you're right.
I wanted to be a rapper. So I used to like write poems and songs and commercial jingles, and I used to draw. Like that's always been my thing. So the creative side of me, you know, kind of went into my candle making as far as the names and coming up with the marketing for it and different things like that. So I think the names really like resonated with people. People love the city. You know, they really felt the connection to the names of the candles sometimes before they would even smell them. And it just really got popular at the different shows we were doing. And we were doing so many pop-ups just to get ourselves out there that it just really took off. And after a while, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to pursue this as a means to make extra income. But I still didn't quit my job because I felt like it was something I could handle doing on the weekends and then like when I got off work in the evenings.
Okay, interesting. So now you made that sound romantic. So let me ask you, because so a lot of people will have an idea and then like, I mean, whatever it is, you want to start a food truck or whatever, and then like you start researching and you're like, oh, this is way more complicated. I guess what was the most complicated part of that? Because I mean, you didn't have a background in like you weren't doing candle making. It's not like you were doing that. So what part of it were you like, oh, this is a little bit more, or was all of it like, okay, I just need to do this, and then I'm good to go?
No, I have like my daughter. she had a bedroom set in her room that had her dresser and mirror and everything connected to it. At one point, I had made a candle, and like I said, we used to test them around the house. We went back in her room one day, and the mirror was burning. Because one of the candles I made, the wick was too big for the candle, and the mirror was on fire.
Wow.
So we had a lot of that before I felt comfortable enough to say, okay, I feel like these are good. I can sell them. I know one day she called me. She was like, Mama, there's a candle in the laundry room, and the whole candle burning. The whole candle's burning. And I was like, okay, go put it out. But this was like just this whole thing of testing and just trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. How much fragrance can I use? What size wick do I need for this jar? How long can you let the candle burn? It was like a lot of trial and error and mess ups and stuff burning before I really felt to where, okay, I got this down now and I can go ahead and make this work. I did like a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of people on YouTube give instruction, but it's like no candle is the same a lot of times. So you could tell me how to make something, but I'm not going to make it exactly like yours. And it might be that one thing that totally messes up the formula, and now the candle's on fire. Candles are honestly, it's science. And a lot of it, because you're dealing with flammable materials, you're dealing with chemical-based things, the wax, the fragrance oil, and just one thing could throw the candle off to where it becomes a fire and a hazard. So it was a lot of research.
That makes, and I think food is like that too. You get a cake from somewhere, go home, try to make it, but I'm like, you're not using their flour, you don't use their eggs, you don't use that, so it's not going to taste the same. So I agree with you on that. Now, you mentioned your family a few times, and I know you're not like officially a family-owned business, but I know they help. Specifically, your husband has helped you, like, and I'm sure when you need them, or your children as well. How was that dynamic, like the husband-wife thing?
It was good. When we first started doing a lot of the pop-ups and things like that, he would be with me pretty much every time we would go. He works shift work, so he's like, works 7 days, he'll work 7 nights, and then he's off for 7 days. So as long as it fell within a time period where he was off, and I would always try to schedule when he was off, because it would be so much stuff to carry out there. I had to set up a tent and tables, and I would have like 2 or 3 wagons full of items trying to carry all that stuff out there. So I would try to schedule when he was not working. But we would go out there, and he was really good with helping me sell and, pushing product, and he'd have his ideas about things, and it was really a good thing. I think he was proud to see me, following a dream that I had and actually seeing it come to fruition and seeing people actually enjoying the products, So I think it went really well. The kids too. A lot of times I'll have them at home helping me with boxing stuff up and, go drop off this order to this person. I got to a point where I was even teaching them how to make products. So they would be right there with me in the kitchen a lot of times, putting stuff together, making candles, the whole thing. It was really, truly, especially once we started getting more orders, I needed them. I did.
That's great. And you and I talk about it takes a special type of person in terms of a spouse to like see the vision, not even if they see it or don't see it, but like to actively participate,
right, and
not block. Because you see on the other side, there's people who are like, man, my spouse does not support me at all. So that's I shout out to him for sure,
right,
for that. So that's amazing. So you're different than your typical startup business because you had a brick and mortar, an actual store. And I know the story of your first store. So can you tell that story?
Yeah. So we got to a place, and like you said about the support, I think it goes so far, and then after some point, sometimes I think it gets to be too much. And I think, us having a business in our house for a while, it just got to be too much. And he was just like, look, you have got to get all this stuff out of our house. Like, I support you, I love what you're doing, but like the business has taken over the house. Like, so, I was like, okay, I got to find a space to work out of, at least that. I really wasn't interested in trying to open up a store because I knew the overhead that came with all that. So my first thought was if I could find a space to just get everything out of the house, that I could just do production. So I actually ended up finding my first space was a little warehouse space that we got in Kenner, actually not too far from here. It was a storage facility. And what they had done was emptied out a bunch of the storages and made this one big warehouse space that had electricity and everything, but there was no air conditioning. So I didn't think it through. The price was reasonable. It was really a big space and just enough space for me to do what I needed to do. So we moved out of the house, moved everything into the warehouse space. I think I might have been paying like $800-900 a month. But we were doing really well online. So I felt like, oh, I can pay that easily. Like I said, we moved. It wasn't hot yet. Like New Orleans summer had not started. But once it got hot, it was impossible. We could not bear the heat. Like during the day, it would be okay early mornings. But say about noon, once it got hot, we were sweating. The wax was sweating. It was just miserable. We would have to wait until late at night to try to go in there and work out of that space. So that didn't work. So I immediately started looking for a new space. I think we might have stayed there maybe 3 months, and I was like, we can't take it. I couldn't take it anymore. So I found a space in Kenner, and that was my first brick and mortar. And even that was in like this little historic district in Rivertown. Yeah. So the rent was really cheap. I think we were paying like $700-800 a month. Now for me at that time, I still felt like it was a little bit higher than, what I was used to paying because, I'm just still, trying to make it. I'm working a full-time job still. And, but compared to what I paid, that's very cheap. But at the time, it seemed like a lot, so we moved into that space. And at first we moved to Kenner. I had 2 spaces, actually. We rented a space upstairs, which we used for production, and we rented a space downstairs that we used for the store.
In the same
building.
Okay.
A lot of people didn't know that. We had 2 spaces there. Okay. So the space downstairs was for a dance studio. So when we moved into the space, they had like tap floor down and stuff like that, and bars on the wall for like ballet. So we ended up having to do like a whole like tear down, redo the whole space in that space. So while that space was being redone, we worked upstairs in the production space upstairs. Then we started getting a lot of complaints from UPS. They didn't want to carry the stuff upstairs. So I was like, okay, finally a space downstairs moved. So then we ended up moving downstairs. So then I had 2 spaces, the store and then the downstairs production. They had some issues with that space, and then we ended up moving production into the store. So then we were doing everything in that one 750 square foot space, which was tight. And we did really well. We opened that store right before Christmas, so December of 2020, which was right in the middle of COVID. But surprisingly, the good thing for us was Kenner didn't have the restrictions that New Orleans had, so people were still able to come out and shop. Whereas like New Orleans, the stores were all like closed. Yeah. I think at that point you couldn't even shop. But Jefferson Parish didn't have those same precautions in place, so people were still able to come in, and we kept a good bit of interest, and people came in and people still shopped. Also, 2020 was like the height of the George Floyd situation as well. So between COVID keeping people at home and people buying candles just to make their space feel more homey, people wanting to support Black businesses because of the whole situation that happened with George Floyd, we actually did really well in the midst of a pandemic when a lot of people were going out of business. That was really like a good season for us, honestly. We did really well. And then the following year, Hurricane Ida happened. And with us being in an older building, the building just wasn't able to withstand the wind and those things. So the landlord ended up saying, look, y'all are all going to have to move out. I'm going to sell the building to someone else and they'll repair it at their time. But for now, y'all all have to move out. So we were forced to move out of that space.
And I remember that.
Yeah.
I guess what was that feeling like when it was time? Yeah.
I couldn't. It's like we were doing so good, and like I said, even at that time, I was still working a full-time job. So I would go to work in the mornings. My daughter had graduated high school by that point, so she would work the store from open to 5 o'clock. When I got off at 5, I would leave work, and then I would come to the store, and I would work on online orders and doing production. So, like I said, we had a good thing going. We were busy, but not too busy to where it was still manageable for me to still keep my full-time job. So, it was working for both of us. She was making good money because she would be there during the day. And just not being able to go back was heartbreaking because we had put so much into just getting into that space. Things were going well. You know, we had started getting some notoriety in the area. People knew us. People knew who we were. It's the hundreds of people past that space in the mornings on their way to New Orleans, going to Oshner. You know, that Jefferson Highway, 3rd Street area is really popular. So we were in a good space as far as, you know, viewing and people being able to see us. So the rent was good. I was still able to maintain everything. So it was heartbreaking. I hated having to leave that space because even though it was small, it was enough. It was like just enough for us. So it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't remember, you know, where I saw it, but I saw you either online, I don't know if it was Sheba Turk. Somebody said something about you, and they were like, she's in Kenner. I'm like, I'm going to find, I don't care where it is, I'm going to find her. And I came to the store, I think that next week, and met you. And I might have came one time and you weren't there, and then I came back another time, and you were there, and I met you, and we exchanged information, and then we've been kind of rolling since then. But you've been featured a lot of places, as you mentioned, and as I talked about in the beginning, Oprah magazine. How did that come to be?
That was also in 2020, around the same time about the George Floyd murder. And I think, like you said, a lot of time at that point, people were like intentional about trying to support Black businesses. People were, you know, spending a lot of money buying things. A lot of businesses were even like jumping on the bandwagon of trying to support Black business, push Black creators. So we were featured in that article. I didn't even know that we were in Oprah magazine. Somebody had told me, I think that morning, that they heard Flirty Girl say something about me on the news or something that morning. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I missed this. So my sister was online trying to find the Flirty Girl thing where she mentioned Wicks Nola. And she called me and she was like, did you know you were in Oprah magazine? And I was like, no, when? She was like, girl, this month. And so she sent the article to me and I was like, oh my God. And they featured us as like one of the 22 best scented candles for 2020. Like I said, they never contacted us. They didn't ask me for a picture. They just published the article. But I was grateful because I got a lot of business.
Wow.
A lot of business from that article. But yeah.
Okay. So yeah. I didn't know that was the story around it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought a lot of times we assume you know that that stuff is coming. But I think it's probably even better when you don't.
Yeah, it was. It was exciting to, you know, to see it. But I learned after that, one of my sister's friends told her that you can actually put your business name. It's a Google app that you can go onto Google and you put your business name and then your email. And every time, like say if you go in and you put Box of Care, anytime anything about Box of Care is mentioned online, Google will send you an email.
That's cool.
To let you know such and such has mentioned Box of Care. So then you can go on and see whether it be a news article or somebody publishes something or anything, you'll get an alert about it. So then you can find out so that doesn't happen.
Okay.
So I've done that now. So then I've had other things come up and I'm like, oh, look at Reddit. Like put this article and I was in this article for Reddit and I'm like, I had no idea, but that happens all the time. And then sometimes like even the Oprah ad, other small publications will publish that same ad from Oprah
right. Yeah.
to their sites as well. So a lot of times it'll be just copies of that same article that gets shared on other publications.
Right.
But in searching for that, we found an article for Cosmopolitan. So I was in Cosmopolitan. I was in Elle magazine as well. Okay. So yeah.
Wow. So I mean, you talked about being in the pandemic, all that's going on through the pandemic. Yeah. First store, Ida happens. I remember that. I remember Ida, and Kenner gets hit. But not like
right. That's what I was going to say. We were not prepared. Kenner was not prepared for that.
I mean, I know where I live. I'm not far from the mall, and we typically do okay with storms. And we got our neighborhood got smashed. So we get through all of that, and you decide to open a second location on magazine. And this is a different type of situation for you.
Right.
Tell me that story.
Yeah. So we, I think. Ida was the end of August.
It was I want to say it was the anniversary of Katrina.
Yeah.
It was August 29th.
You're right.
August 29th.
So end of August is when that happened. And I want to say we were gone for like 2 weeks. I think we went to Tennessee for a week. And then we end up going somewhere else for a week before, because Destrehan got hit pretty hard, which is where I live.
Always.
So we weren't able to come home. We had no air conditioning. We had no electricity, probably for almost a month in Destrehan. So we stayed gone for like 2 weeks. Came back. We were able to see the shop had been pretty much damaged beyond repair. Roof gone. AC units like were outside on the ground. So I was like, okay, so this isn't going to happen. But even in that, when I came back, I was working in the shop with like a little generator and a fan, trying to put together some orders that I could to try to get people stuff out, because we have customers that are coming from all over the United States. They're not just in Louisiana. And people can be understanding it sometimes that, they had a storm, but they want their stuff. So it's like either you got to still process these orders or you have to issue refunds. And at the time, I didn't even have the money to try to refund all these people for their orders. But people were very understanding and allowed me to slowly get their merchandise out to them still. And we did that just probably for maybe 2 weeks, just in the dark with a lamp. Wow. We had a lamp and a fan, and working out of that space. Like I said, it's water on the ground. Stuff was falling all on top of us, but just trying to still be in there and putting orders together to get people stuff out to them. So we did that for maybe 2 weeks. And then that's when the landlord was like, look, I'm not going to renew the leases. You guys can get out of the leases. Y'all need to find a new space. So at that point, I did not have any insurance. So the space was pretty much a loss. Whatever was there and that didn't get, we salvaged what we could. Everything else was pretty much a loss. So I'm trying to think of what happened. I tried to decide, honestly, did I want to even go back into open another store? Because after that, like I said, I was still working full time, and I'm like, I only opened the store because I felt like the people kept asking me to. I didn't feel like it was something I really wanted to do. I feel like I was kind of pressured when I would go to markets and people would say, oh, do y'all have a brick and mortar? Oh, do y'all have somewhere we could come and shop? And I kind of felt like it's candles, so people want to be able to come in and smell. But I didn't really want the overhead, again, of the brick and mortar and the responsibility that came with that. So I was kind of like, I don't think I'm going to open another store. I'm not doing it. I think I'm going to just go back to working from home and just keep doing online like we were doing. Like, we're doing pretty good online. I think I'm going to keep it that way. But something just kept pressing in me, because I do like being able to talk to people. I like the idea of community. I like being able to have conversations with my customers, getting to know people. So I missed being in that store. I missed having people, my regulars, stop by and having those people that I saw, every 2 weeks coming and get their stuff. So I kind of started thinking maybe I did want to take a chance and go ahead and open a store again. And then my goal had always been like Magazine Street. That was like always like the mecca here of, places to have
shopping.
Nice boutique and shopping.
I would say.
Very big touristy area. There's constantly people back and forth, but I knew the area was very expensive. So I started looking at places, and then we finally actually ended up finding a place and worked out getting the place. And so we moved into that space. Honestly, really quicker than I thought, because that was the end of August when Ida happened. We moved. I got the keys for the space in November.
Yes, Thanksgiving
around
then.
Yeah. So got the keys in November on the 1st, and then we opened on Black Friday. So like November 27th.
Okay. Yep.
Day after Thanksgiving. So we had to. That was a community effort there. My friends, family. We spent Thanksgiving Day at the shop. I ordered food from Chicken's Kitchen. We sat there. We had Thanksgiving dinner, and then it was like, okay, we've eaten. Get back up. Let's get back to work.
Get to work.
So, like I said, it was my sisters, my best friend, my husband, the kids. We were all there, making products, painting, just trying to get the cash register system up. It was just a big effort of trying to do a bunch of stuff, trying to get us ready to open up the next day. And then we worked overnight till the next morning. Actually, by the time we were supposed to have the grand opening, The band was outside for the second line, and we were still inside trying to put stuff up and get stuff ready. Like, I didn't even get to go home and go to sleep that night. I was still in the clothes that I had on for Thanksgiving Day. When we opened up the store the next day, it was just that hectic. So we opened up, did really, really well. I pretty much almost sold out of everything like the day we opened. Having to stay that night to make more stuff because we had to be open the very next day for people to come shop, so it was just a lot, but we did really well in that space too. Really heavy touristy area. Things were going good at that time too. Fast forward to April 3rd of the following year. I got a call like around 3-4 in the morning saying that the store was on fire. So I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this cannot be happening. So I jump up, run out. My husband was like, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, they said the store is on fire. The store is on fire. So he's like, what? I couldn't even like deal with what he was asking me. Like, I had to get out of there. I had to go see. So I jumped in the car, drive down there, and I got a call from the fire marshal on the way there. And he was just telling me like it was a lot of smoke. Like the building hadn't burned down, but there was a lot of smoke damage inside. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get in here and it's going to be probably some smoke on the walls, but we'll be able to clean up and I'll probably be able to open back up today. Think this is in my mind because I'm trying to be positive and think the best. But once I got there and opened the door, they had all gone at that point. It was just water everywhere. Pretty much there was no coming back from that at this point. It was going to take a while before we could reopen. And I pretty much just like fell on the floor and started crying. It was just like, at that point, I think I took that loss on magazine the hardest because I had put in so much work, not even just work physically, just the mental work, the faith, everything that went into building that space and me having to trust God for the money, trusting God for just the help to get it up, trusting God that I could even get into a space like that. Like all of the work that I put in physically and mentally to get into that place. And we weren't even there 6 months. Like I said, we moved in, I got the keys in November, and by April, it was done. Like just that fast. I think 4 months we had the space, and within 4 months I had lost it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was devastated to see it, but I think people kind of rallied around.
They did
a little bit.
They did. We had just so much support. Even like the date of, I had customers come out there. When I posted that morning what had happened, that we weren't going to be open, and it was crazy because that was like the weekend of the Final Four. So that Saturday we had a great day in the store. Like as far as profit wise, we were doing good. We had so many people came in and shopped. So I was getting ready for Sunday. Like there was someone on the same street across the street had opened up a new healthcare practice, and they walked over there by me like right before I closed that night and asked if I wanted to come over and join their little celebration. I was like, oh yeah, welcome to the neighborhood. I turned everything off, locked the door. There was a wedding hall right across the street from us. There was a second line band that just walked past. I got my car. I'm thinking, okay, I went to the little thing. I'm gonna come back in the morning and we'll get ready for tomorrow because it's gonna be another busy day. And just to get that call, right before it was time for me to actually get up and come to the store, that it was pretty much had burned to that point to where I was not gonna be able to open again anytime soon.
Crazy.
So yeah.
Wow. So you've since then you transitioned back to the house and
yes. So since then we are back at the house, which is where I started. Working out of the house, right. And now it's like times 10 because I have way more orders than I did when I first started doing this. So it's been crazy. So now I've pretty much taken over my kitchen and my dining room and the foyer.
Is it a 2-room rule? Like how many rooms at the house before you have to get out the house? Is it 2 rooms? And I guess know. It depends on, if you have a garage or if you have a because I dealt with that too. I mean, I was like, stuff was like the walls are closing in. Yeah. And I know we've talked about it before, and you talk about how that space runs out. Yeah. And we've just been kind of now to where it's like my kids are older now. So that's the thing that I think helps because,
if they're home, sometimes most of the time they're not home because, they're driving and stuff now. So, and then when they're home, they're in their rooms. So they're in their rooms on their phones, watching TV or whatever. So they pretty much stay to their rooms. My husband, he works so much. When he comes home, a lot of times he's in the room, in the bed. So it's like me and the dogs. And we kind of have the front part of the house, to where we're just working. I have boxes in this room and boxes in that room. And just trying to keep it neatly organized has been the hardest part. But I'm working on it.
I mean, and look, having the orders are a great thing. And I know recently you were featured on the Today Show. And I know that's obviously giving you a lot of orders.
It has. It has.
So how did that come to be?
Yes, so there was a book this new author, Diane Brown, wrote called Black Candle Women. And the story takes place in California about these women and magic and voodoo and things like that. But the family is actually from New Orleans. So in the book, they actually do come back to New Orleans, and there's some things that go on. But they were like constantly burning candles because of the voodoo, and they did like a lot of spells and things like that. So they talk about candles and things like that throughout the book. So Jenna on the Today Show happened to pick this book to be her book club of the month read for the month of March. And then usually when they do a book club, they usually pick products that maybe either have something to do with that book or things that they think might be good to use while you're reading whichever the book is. So they wrote and asked if I would be interested in having my candles featured during the segment where she reviewed or talked about the book. And I was just like, of course. Like, yes. Like,
yes, immediately.
She's like, and usually they ask you to give a coupon. Yes. I was like, look, whatever you say, my answer's gonna be yes. Like, I don't care what y'all ask me to do. Yes. Well, could you send us like about 10 candles? Yes. Whatever y'all need, I will send immediately. And the crazy thing, it was nothing but God, because she had actually sent this email to me maybe a week and a half prior. For some reason, I did not see the email. Thank God she reached out to me again and said, hey, I don't want you to miss this opportunity. I didn't get a response from your last email. Are you interested in being featured on the show? And I was like, I don't even know how I missed this email. Like, this is crazy. Like, of course. So at that point, my deadline was like the next day at that point. So she was like, okay, I need you to get these candles to me by Monday. This was like on a Friday. So I had to like overnight everything to them to New York. It was like maybe 15, 20 candles I had to send to be set up on the platform there. And but I was able to get it done and get it to them. But yeah, that was just like an excellent opportunity.
That's so special and well deserved.
No,
for sure.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you.
Is the author, is she from New Orleans? Or
no, she's not. She said she her family was from here though, and she would spend summers here. Okay. In New Orleans. So yeah.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. But that's awesome. And you showed me the clip, and if anybody hadn't seen it, definitely go take a look at it. Yeah. And because I was like, wait, you get to go to the the Today Show. You're like, what? No, I don't get to go.
No, I don't get to go this time. I'm.
I know we can manifest that. Yes. But this, this is the next best thing.
Yes. I was fine with that. Like, I do not have to be there. They even put my picture up. I was like, okay, that's good.
And it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper to send the product. Because I'm like, whatever it cost to overnight, it was worth it.
It was worth it. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, oh my God, I think I spent like $300. But I was like, you know what? That's fine. I'll get it back.
But you work hard. I mean, you just told the stories of the stores. I mean, I know you work hard. Mm-hmm. So to see things, Lord knows, whenever you planted that seed for this to come about, it just, I mean, consistent, stay working, and like it happens. Mm-hmm. But you consistently work. Yeah. You consistently work, and even through all the turmoil and all that stuff. And you said stuff today that I didn't even know about the story. So so we talked about you, but now the star of the show are the candles, right? I would think they are.
They are.
So I'm gonna ask you this, and I know what your answer is gonna be, but your favorite scent.
It changes. Like,
okay. So that's not what I thought. I see. Usually people go, I can't pick. I can't tell you what I like. I'm like, no. That's not how this works.
It changes, and I think candles is a lot of mood. A lot of
That's
your
true.
mood
That's true.
affects what you like and what you want to burn and what space you're in a lot of times. And like this morning I walked in my bathroom and I had like brunch and booze burning in there.
Mm-hmm.
And even my daughter came in, she was like, that smells good. And I was like, I know, huh? She was like, what that is? I was like, oh, that's brunch and booze. She was like, oh, it smells really good. I was like, I know. Like I have people that tell me it's their favorite. And it's one that I burn, but I'm not a big sweet candle smelling type person.
Mm-hmm.
I like more like woodsy, masculine type scents.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on what I'm feeling at the time. But my all-time favorite has always been Voodoo Spell. That's like my favorite. And I think it's because it is more like sensual, warm. It's got like a patchouli and some amber in it. So it's really just like warm and it's nice. I love it.
I like those scents. Mm-hmm. Like the whole house.
Yeah.
Smelling like that.
Yeah.
I like the fresh laundry is always like
that's always a go-to.
A good safe.
Yes, I tell people that all the time. If they're buying for someone else or you're buying for someone and you don't really know what they like, fresh, clean is always universally
safe.
Pretty much safe.
Now, so my next question was going to be, what are customers' favorite? Or I guess what are some of your best sellers? Which ones do you see people buy all the time?
People, I think. That's the thing with us being online. I think a lot of times people go for what's safe. Not so much that it's a favorite. I think it's just because when it's online, you can't really smell it.
That's true.
So there are certain scents that they're obvious ones, like French Quarter Beignet, which is one of my biggest sellers. Yeah. Because you kind of know what you're getting when you see French Quarter Beignet. Yeah. And it's going to smell exactly like what you want it to be, you know. So we do a lot of like corporate orders, and a lot of times that's what they do. I just did one for like this healthcare insurance this week, and they ordered like 100 candles for their convention. They did all French Quarter Beignet. I probably wouldn't have picked that because everybody doesn't like bakery type scents. But it's really New Orleans-y sounding. So I think that's why French Quarter Beignet does so well. Voodoo Spell does really well. The Big Easy, Brunch and Booze does really well. After the Storm is one of our clean linen type scents that does really well too. Belladonna. Yeah, they all pretty much do pretty well. There's only some that I feel, like I have a Creole tomato leaf. I think people don't give it a chance.
Well, what does, okay.
But it smells, it's really green, really, when you think of tomato and tomato leaf, it's that fresh lemon zest, green, grassy. It smells exactly like what it sounds like. But it's really good, like after you just cleaned your house, really good for like your kitchen, bathroom type candle.
Yeah. How many total scents do you have?
I have about 65.
That's a lot.
About 65. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, I tell people this all the time, because my candles are influenced by culture, we have so much culture here in the city. I feel like it's almost impossible to narrow it down to 20 or 30. The thing that happens here is people are very big on representing their space, representing their area,
their neighborhood,
in their neighborhood,
their street,
in
and
their
all
streets,
that. Yes.
in their schools, and all that kind of stuff. So it's like I would get people that come into the store. If I have a garden district, what a West Bank, what a Ninth Ward, what a Seventh Ward, what Uptown, so it's like then you have to represent all of this culture of all of these different people. So I'm constantly having to, I feel, represent the city properly by coming up with all these scents that represent where all these people are from, because that's just the culture of New Orleans.
That's true.
You know, people want, and like even the food, you know, you do beignets, you do tomatoes, and then you got bananas Foster, and it's king cakes, and it's crawfish, and it's Sazerac, and it's hurricanes, and it's like all these things. You know, like I said, the culture is so big and so vast here, and I feel like I want to be able to represent and touch each part of that, and that becomes a new scent.
That's true.
So,
okay. That's good to know. Okay.
So that's what happens most times. But now I'm like, okay, like this is it, y'all. This is it. But then I went to one of my close friends I used to work with, her mom passed away last week. And I went to her funeral, and they're Catholic. So when they went to bring the body, and this is crazy, this is like how when you're always like working, you're always working and doesn't turn off.
Yeah.
And I'm at the funeral, and the priest comes through with the smoke thing that they do.
Yeah.
And I smelled it, and I was like, I got a new scent. I got to find something that smells like smoke. And I could call it Sunday morning mass or something like that. That was in my head.
That's not a
because
bad
that's what I'm
idea.
thinking. I was like, I have to find that smoke. And I have to make a scent out of that. And with us having this big Catholic population and culture here,
is, New Orleans.
I was like, I got to call it cathedral or something on that line. But that's like how my mind is always going because I'm always thinking of what's next. What's next?
That's a great idea. I didn't even think about I didn't even think about
But
that.
it was a nice smell. After it kind of settled, I was like, oh, I kind of like that. It's like a incensey, smoky. Yeah. But I was like, that's another scent.
Interesting. And I know what you're talking about, but I'm not Catholic, so I don't.
I'm not Catholic
So
either.
I didn't grow up with the.
Me either.
But I know what you're talking
But that
about.
was I was like, oh. Like, it was like in the air afterwards. And I was like, yeah, this is the culture of New Orleans. This Catholic thing. Catholicism is big here.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So, I mean, you talked about the flavors or the scents and stuff, but like, what do you think is your secret sauce? Because you're a vegan candle company, so like, what does that mean?
So basically, that our candles are not made with any man-made or animal-based products. So a lot of people use like a paraffin wax, which is actually a chemically made wax. It's not sustainable or plant-based. So the wax that we use is actually made with coconut and soy,
Okay.
which are both plant-based. So you can even tell the difference in just the feel of the wax. The coconut soy wax is a lot more soft. It almost feels like butter. Whereas when you mess with the paraffin wax or even touch it, it feels like plasticky, really hard. The thing is, paraffin actually is a stronger smelling wax. Because it's chemically based, it can hold a lot more fragrance than a plant-based wax can. But it doesn't burn off as clean, and it kind of alters the scent of the candle when you burn it. And you'll also notice a lot more black soot that burns off of a candle when it's not made with a more clean based wax. So just recently, I feel like people have gotten more into, health, what they're burning, what they're eating, what they have around their pets. Back in the day, people didn't care. They just wanted the candle to smell good.
Correct.
As long as it's loud, it could be smoke all around my house. I don't care. People just have always been like that. But I think now that people are getting more health conscious, and like I said, just more environmentally smart and conscious about those things, people are looking into more healthy options. Anytime you're burning anything, it is going to be some type of, chemical that's going to be let off because it's something that's burning.
Right.
But you want to try to at least be as clean as possible. Those products are a little bit more expensive, of course, like anything else. You always try to eat better. Anything organic, it's going to be more expensive.
Always, yeah.
So that does drive the price up a little bit more than you would pay for maybe a candle from Walmart. But it's just the overall, what is your desire and what do you want in products that you are actually using and consuming. And if you want a more healthier option, more clean burning option, of course, it's going to cost you more.
Yeah. And you mentioned sustainability, and I think that's a great point. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to get into rapid fire, but
Okay.
last question before rapid fire. Any crazy order stories? What's either good or bad? Something that you like. What in the world? Was somebody made a large request or just something that you just like, what in the world?
I'm trying to think if I had a crazy order story. I know I had a lady message me yesterday. She was a wholesale customer. I'm not going to say who it was. she purchased candles from me, and she said, I put the candles in storage, and I noticed that the labels were messed up. Would you be able to exchange these candles for me for some new candles? So I went back because I was like, she hasn't ordered in a while. This lady had not ordered from me since February of 2022.
Okay, so
which means those candles have been in storage for over a year.
Wow.
And she wanted me to exchange them for brand new candles. I was like, why were they in the storage? I don't know if this is even my candles at this point. I was like, I haven't even responded yet. That was yesterday. I got to figure out what I'm going to tell her. Because I'm not giving her new candles for those candles that she had in the storage. Like, I don't even know if it was climate control storage. Was it? I don't know if
that's. I was just thinking. I'm like, at first I was thinking storage is not good, and then I'm like, okay, maybe it was like in a actual like building.
I don't know. I'm like, no.
So lesson learned is you got to let people know, huh?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? You got to let. After you buy these, they're yours, and if you hold them for 20 years.
They're yours.
I can't do anything for you. And then also, you're probably better off selling them, using them.
And that's what I said. I'm going to tell you, you can either use them in your store. You have to burn them yourself. But no, I'm not. I'm sorry. I was like, that's like me asking somebody something I bought a year ago and thinking I'm about to walk in and say, hey, I know I bought this from you, but I didn't use it. Can you give me a new one? Like, no. I don't want to take your year-old whatever and give you something new. I'm gonna
try with the seasoning. I get seasonings from people. Maybe I try that with them. Hey, I have your seasoning from
exactly.
a year ago that I haven't used.
Can you give me a fresh one?
Yeah, that's not gonna go.
It's not gonna happen.
That's not gonna fly.
No,
not gonna fly. Okay, all right. Well, that's okay. Interesting.
Now I said I may change the labels out for her. Is at least that. And give her a fresh label for the front. But I'm not giving her a whole brand new candle. I'm sorry.
Do you think the candle's still intact? Do you think it's still like, would it start to, I know there's sweat, but like, do you think it's, okay, interesting.
I don't know.
That's a year and some change. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought so too.
Interesting. All right. So, rapid fire.
Yes.
I'm going to try to, because I don't know how to stop talking. So I'm gonna try to make sure this doesn't drag on and on in the conversation. So I'm gonna just go through some questions and you tell me what you're thinking. If you want to give reasoning, you can. If not, but it's nothing too, it's not too crazy. All right. So favorite movie?
Color Purple.
Color Purple, good movie. Guilty pleasure TV show?
Shark Tank.
That's a guilty pleasure?
I guess. I watch it all the time.
That's my.
You watch it too?
Do I? Ooh, I watch the reruns on CNBC.
Me too.
That's the ones I watch.
Ready.
I haven't watched as many of the. I haven't watched as many of the new ones. So we just stream now. So I don't even have cable.
Me either.
So we do CNBC.
Yeah.
But I watch instead. I mean, they teach some really good lessons.
They do.
They teach some really.
I
good
watch
lessons.
it. I'm telling you. I'm like, I'm ready. I'm going on Shark Tank at some point.
Did you ever watch the show The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis?
No.
I wonder if it's still. I would say either get the CNBC app or find a place that you can like look at old TV shows. That's like probably one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Was it the same thing? Of show?
So a bunch of people from around the country. I mean, I'm sure thousands of people write to Marcus Lemonis, who's a part owner of Camping World. But he's like a billionaire or whatever, and he'll go to the business and feel it out and do a deal with the business, and then like do things to help reshape that business into something. And I mean, he had what 5 or 6 seasons. And some of them did really well, and then some of them like sued him. They had issues afterward.
What?
Yeah, because people were like, so he would like give a lot. He would give those businesses a lot of money over time. I always said, I'm like, if I ever work with him, I would listen to what he said, because he just was everything. He was very spot on with a lot of stuff, and he talked about which I try to like do in my business, but like people, process, and product, like breaking your business down into 3 things: the stuff that involves people, stuff that involves processes, and the stuff that pertains to your products. Stuff like that. So I would definitely say, he like worked with businesses in New York and businesses in Chicago and like car dealerships and restaurants and all. Like he just, but I stumbled on that. I was in Chicago. He's from Chicago, but I was in Chicago for it was actually my mother-in-law had just passed away, so we were in a hotel, and my wife was like handling some business, and I was just chill, like I was chilling at the hotel, and I was like, what is it? Like, what is the profit? And I watched it, I was like, I'm hooked.
Okay.
So business shows. So it's different from Shark Tank because people aren't like pitching to him per se, like a panel.
Right.
It's just them, but he like goes to their business and like sees how they do things, and then goes and makes changes, and but it's a it's also some reality to it. But like you can tell like he knows his stuff.
Right.
So definitely check that out whenever you get a chance. Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. I'd start talking.
No, it's
are you an early bird or a night owl?
I would say honestly probably a little bit of both now. The business has kind of forced me to be. A lot of times I get up probably about 6:30 now.
Okay.
I don't know if that's really considered early, but yeah, about 6:30 to get started. Because, with it being just me doing it by myself, I feel like I have to like take advantage of every hour of the day. And it's like I feel like if I sleep till 8, like I've lost so much time. Like it's like I'll start, if I get up at 8, before I know it, it's noon. It's like, and then before you know it, it's 4.
That's true.
And it's like so I feel like if I get up at like 6, at least I have a couple hours before that noon time hits, and I feel like I've accomplished a lot of stuff. But then I do get into bed at night, and I'm up on my phone, and then I'm up till 11:30, 12:30, zooming. Searching for stuff and looking up new ideas and new products and what else can I do and what's next and So it's like a continuous thing where my mind is constantly always going on. What's next? What can I improve on? What do I have to do tomorrow? I got to call this person. I got to do this. I got to, So I would say probably a little bit of both now.
A little bit of both. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Favorite music album of all time? If you could listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be? I know that's a tough one. I made sure.
And I'm a music head. Oh my gosh. One album.
No compilations.
It might be.
What genre are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's either. It might be Sade Love Deluxe.
Sade. That's mood music.
Sade be speaking to your soul.
This mood music, like that's go. Yeah, that'll.
Either that, but. Cause like I'm trying to think of like when I'm home, like what am I going to? Like what am I going to put on and listen to? Now to be honest, I know it's not going to be popular opinion, but I'm an R. Kelly fan.
My wife's from Chicago.
Okay.
My wife's from Chicago, so that's all.
I know. I know.
My wife's from Chicago, so I have listened to my fair share.
Let me tell you. I love some R. Kelly.
The Chocolate Factory is one of my favorites.
Yes,
now I can't say it anymore, but The Chocolate Factory is one of my favorite albums. That to me is one of the best R&B
albums.
albums.
From front to back. I play that album.
That's what best R&B. And I know if my wife was here, she'd be like, "That's not even a bet." I'm like, "Okay, look,
I know.
That's my." I like that.
I know what he's done. I get it.
I like that.
I have he would not be around my children, but I know. I love R. Kelly. His music. I'll say that. God, if not, would it be Kirk? I love me some Kirk Franklin too.
That's good.
Or Mary. Or Yolanda Adams. Oh gosh. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Tough question.
That's a tough question.
I think for me, I'm like, I know if I had just one album forever, I know it would be Michael Jackson Off the Wall.
Really?
Yeah. I grew up, man.
I hear people say that all the time. And I loved Michael Jackson, but I don't think I was on him till like Thriller.
That my second. So I mean, Thriller, Off the Wall, and then Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Oh yeah,
will be
Lauryn Hill.
That's I'm R&B. So like that's like I just But like Michael Jackson, Off the Wall, even Thriller, you just put it on. I'm thinking of something you put on from the beginning
and just let it go,
and you don't ever have. That's how Chocolate Factory is for me.
Yeah,
I could put on the first song, and I would just let that go forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I love music though.
I do too.
That's my. I wish I could sing. I wish I had that skill. Yeah. But I do love Michael Jackson. Yeah, again, kind of like, definitely not along the lines of R. Kelly, but controversial. In some ways. If you could start another business tomorrow, what would it be? You sell Wicks.
You made these questions up, right?
You sell Wicks. You done made your $100 million.
I've thought about that before too. Like, if somebody, have you ever thought about that with your business? Like, if somebody ever approached you and offered you like the right number.
Man, now you asking me questions. So somebody said
thought about that,
it tripped me out because somebody said that to me, and now that I listen to a lot of entrepreneur podcasts, I'm like, oh, that's the move for everybody. The exit strategy. I'm like, I guess we don't. And I'm just this you and I talking, but like, as a black business, we like, how can our grandkids stay? And like, that's not how everybody thinks about their business. A lot of people are like, how can I build this and then sell it?
Okay, that was we could talk about that, but yeah, and like you said, we talking, but that's something I've had a question about too, because just recently, I think it was one of these hair care companies, black hair care companies, and she just sold to Procter and Gamble or somebody this. And a lot of black people were upset because they always say, like, once they sell to these companies that the product changes. Of course it's going to.
Carol's daughter, same thing.
That's
what. Is that who you're talking about? Are you talking about?
No,
or are you talking about Miel?
Miel? Yes. Miel. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, how? Yeah, I know. Because my wife used the product.
Mm-hmm. So, and then they were like, oh, they tell you the exit strategy. You should always be thinking about that. But I had to ask a question to my friend. I was like, should you? I was like, because I don't feel like these white companies go into business thinking, what's the exit? Like, I feel like, how do these white companies get to this bigger status to be able to continue to buy these smaller brands? Procter & Gamble's been around a long time.
Very long time.
They're not thinking about the exit strategy. They're thinking about continuing to build and monopolize in whatever this their brand and that market is. Like, and we'll just keep buying these little companies up, and we'll continue to grow our brand. But I was like, so why is it that we always feel like the exit is the strategy? Like, why can't I, even if my kids decide they don't want to run this after I'm gone, I can hire somebody to run this company.
That's true.
There's somebody that can be put in place, a board or whomever, to keep this going to where my kids still could eat off of this after I'm gone. That's true. Not have to be directly running it. But Wicks should be able to still continue to build and grow and become this large brand even after I'm gone. So why do I have to be in a space of thinking about selling it? And still, people sell and still, keep some control. Mm-hmm. Or even, I don't know. I just keep thinking about that. Like, why do we always feel like that's the answer? We're going to make money and then sell it to a large white company. And then now we've lost that brand.
That's a good question. Because, I don't know. It's easy for me to sit here and say what I would do because I
get it.
You know what I mean? It's hard to say if somebody came in and offered. Because I think a lot of times, and like I'll listen to Earn Your Leisure, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
They'll talk about getting the money. Who was it? It was a musical person that recently sold part of the catalog. Man, I can't think of who it is. They sold. Was it Jermaine? Somebody sold their part of either the catalog or part of their catalog for a few $100 million, and people are upset, and they're just like, well, they may want to take that money and do something else. So it's like, I guess for you,
I saw a couple people. John Legend just did it. Jermaine Dupri
and a lot of them are. So I don't know, like, and I don't know exit strategy or not, but like, what are your goals as the owner? Is it to be for me, long term, I want to do this in other cities, but at some point, if Harry and David or Hallmark or another gifting or like lifestyle type brand wanted to come in and offer, I don't know. If somebody came and offered me $250 million, it'd be hard to, because that could kind of set my children. We can go different directions. So it's just And I think
that's what they were saying about the catalog. Like John Legend was saying, like people keep asking him, like, well, why? He was like, well, I'm not gonna sell it everything. He was like, but the money that I do get for what they're selling me, then I take that and then I go and reinvest that into other things that are going to make me money while the music is just sitting. Yeah. He was like, because, you know, and then they'll take it and then they'll reshop it and make money off of it too. He was like, but in the meantime, now I have this now cash that I can take and go do other things with and put that money into other things and grow that money. In other ways, you know, I get what you're saying, because that's been always my conversation too. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be 47 next month. I don't want to be doing this. Like, honestly, I just told Justini Cocktails, like the other day, I was like, I do not want to still be working this hard in the next 3 years. I'm giving myself to 50, to where I don't want to be hands-on Wicks Nola like this. I want to have people running this for me. I do not want to have to be still standing up nowhere and making no candles in the next 3 years. Like, if somebody did come to me and offer me $1 billion to take it, would I sell it? Because I'm like, I could live out the rest of my life comfortably with that type of money and be able to leave something for my children to where then I could travel and move around and take my husband from out of his job and we could do and go and see. And, you know, it's like, I'm not 20 years old no more, you know, so it's like that is something to think about. I don't know. I don't know.
It's a lot of factors.
Right.
And you don't know what God has in store for you. I mean, you really don't know. But like you said, where you are in life at that time is going to matter a lot. Because my kids are young. And as they get older, I want to be, they're going to need, well, they'll be moving around more. But like, I want to be in all this stuff.
Right.
I don't want to miss the pictures before the dance and the ballet recitals on the Tuesday night, and I know I had to go deliver, and I'm like, so I don't know. I really don't know what that looks like, but I do feel like, I mean, everybody, we've all got a number. I mean, I don't know what that, you know, we all have a it's like something, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah,
that's a good question. But I know for sure. I'm like, I have an idea if I want to grow this and go to other cities, but I'm like, I don't want to be doing it because it's a grind no matter how you do it. So even if if you just became the face of it, it's gonna be a different type of grind. So now you really got to get out there and do more. Pinky Cole, I love Pinky Cole. She was just on what is the podcast I listen to? I can't think of the name of it. The one I listened to, guy with David Shands. He was interviewing her. So she was on Earn Your Leisure as well, and I've listened to her story now a few times. And hearing her recently, like how things have changed for her, how in 2020 she had one restaurant and 20 employees, now she got 350 employees and 9 restaurants, and like now she's the face of it. She's raised buku money though, so that's kind of, but it's $100 million business, and she was just talking about like her role in it now. She's like, we have processes. She's like, I don't just do things anymore. She's like, we have people who run stuff. She's like, and I can't go, you know, the operations people, I can't go make changes because people do that. Right. So she's like, my role now is the face, and she's going to be on Jet Magazine coming up soon.
I saw it.
Like, so it's just, I mean, like, you know, as a black person, we're obviously rooting for Pinky, and like, but watching her rise has been like, it can happen in a short time.
Yes.
In 2020, she started.
It did.
That, but I'm just say all that to say like how things have changed for her, and I would imagine eventually she would get out of slutty. I can't imagine she'd be doing slutty vegan forever and ever. You know what I mean? And she's, you know, getting married and had a child and has a baby, and you just time changes.
Yeah, because she done had a baby. Or did they get married yet?
No, they're getting married. I want to say get married soon.
And I looked the other day. I was like, she pregnant again. I'm not sure.
She made a joke on the podcast that she was.
Did she?
She did.
I saw her the other day, and I was like, Pinky looked pregnant.
She made a joke. What is the name of the podcast? I listen to it all the time with David Shands and Donnie Wiggins. It's called I can't think of it. Social Proof podcast.
Okay.
And yeah, so they he had Pinky on there. So when I saw her name, I lit up. I'm like, oh yes,
like, let me.
Yes, I can't wait to, because I mean they always have people on there, but Pink is just she's the it girl right now. She's it, and she's doing a lot of stuff in philanthropy and like she's just but she handles the business and all that stuff. But even for somebody like her, I mean, I don't know. Is it forever? Is it right? Is it forever? So we'll see. Yeah. I don't know. We didn't even answer the question. If you can start another business, what would it be?
It might be restaurant, maybe food. But I've heard it's hard. And I've heard it's hard to make money. That probably would be my next thing. Yeah. Some type of cooking something. Yeah. Okay. Because like with this, my goal with Wicks is to expand into Wicks Nola Home. That is my goal. So I want to start having like pajamas and towels and comforters and just almost like a Martha Stewart type. But
I'm gonna give you somebody
candles.
different. Tabitha Brown.
But Tabitha Brown, we can go with that. Yes,
we gotta leave Martha over there. More tab.
So like home lifestyle. That's my next move.
That's good.
So yeah, so starting with the fragrance, but then I want to start going into other things. And like I said, I want to start small, loungewear, pillows, little things like that, but then going into that vein.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Secret hidden talent.
I would probably say either drawing or singing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you do better? Do you think you do better?
I would say probably singing. I haven't drawn in a long time.
So it's like church singing or singing. So I feel like there's a
little bit of both.
Okay, because there's a difference. Bit of both. We definitely know there's a difference between the two.
Yes.
And the black community can't do both.
No.
Black people, you can't do both. They're not gonna let you have it.
No, they're not.
Not gonna let you have it. All right. When you're not working, what are you doing?
I don't sleep a lot. Probably TV.
Watching TV?
Because I don't get to watch a lot of TV. Like I said, most of the time I'm working, I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to some type of radio show or interview or something like that. So like to actually sit down and watch a television program is not something I do a lot. So when I do have time to sit down, I'm usually chips and some type of snack food and watching TV. Some type of show. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bucket list vacation.
So I have always wanted to go. Where is that? Is it with the little huts on the water?
So there's a few places.
Bali?
Bora Bora, the Maldives.
I think it's Maldives.
The Maldives. There's another one.
But I've heard people say it's boring. Like there's nothing.
Oh, really?
I've heard a lot of people say that. Like it's beautiful, but it's boring. Like there's nothing to do after that.
You know what? Now that you say that, you just see people in the huts and then on the water.
I think Steve Harvey was talking about it. He was like, it's nice, but it's boring. Like there's nothing else to do. Like once you get there, it's like
interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, look, I want to see. I gotta see in person.
Too. I want to go to Hawaii too.
Me too. Smaller. I would like to do Hawaii as well.
I've heard it's very expensive, but I want to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, I was looking at something in Hawaii and I was like, oh, that's that's high.
It's high. I've heard
it's high to get there. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
Okay. One thing about you that nobody would guess. That you feel comfortable saying. That you feel comfortable.
Oh, my stomach. I'm hungry. I don't know. that nobody would guess. It's hard to think because I'm very open with everything.
But is there something you do? So, I mean, these questions are for you, but like one thing for me, I watch Family Guy, the TV show, the Family Guy, the cartoon. I watch that. My wife would tell like, that's almost like comforting for me at night when it's time to go to bed. I don't put the news on. I'll put that on.
Family Guy.
And fall asleep to that, which I don't like.
Okay,
I don't talk about that.
I could say that I like to sleep with the TV on.
Okay.
Like I like to have light on.
Noise and that. Yeah,
some type of noise.
Okay.
Whether it be a fan or the light. Like,
okay.
And then like you said, we stream too. So we have Roku.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know if they're like with Roku, after like the TV sits for a while, it goes to just like this still screen.
Yeah.
Before you have to go back and like say you're still watching or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like if I wake up in the middle of the night and it's on the still screen, I'll put something on.
Oh, will you
just
really?
to go back to sleep too.
Oh, I'll turn it off at that point.
I will find something and I'll just put some type of show on. I'm not even watching it, but it's like I need that light. And
really?
I'll turn the TV down low, just enough to hear it still, but to fall back to sleep.
Interesting. And he said your body still listens even when you sleep.
Have heard people
have you heard that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm like,
yes.
That's interesting.
That's
too.
what I would. I used to, like I said, I work for a pediatrician, and that's what she used to always tell us with the kids. Like at nighttime, when they get in the bed, turn the TV off. She was like, because your mind is still listening. I don't care how low the TV is. She was like, you're still listening. Like, so to get a good rest at night, you need to be in complete like nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Last rapid fire. It wasn't that rapid, but last rapid fire. You've got one meal to eat in New Orleans. It could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Where are you going, and what are you eating? That's probably the hardest question I've asked all day.
I would. It's gonna be either. I'm a big like Asian.
Okay.
Food, so any type of noodle.
Okay.
Something like that, I really, really like. So it's probably not gonna be no New Orleans type food.
Okay. I mean, I said eat a meal in New Orleans. So I said it didn't have to be.
I love. Oh God, I can't even think of the name of the place. That's ridiculous.
Where is it?
It was right across the street from the shop.
Also, it's in Kenner.
No,
a magazine.
Oh God.
Is it a pho restaurant?
It's ramen. Union Ramen.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've not been there.
They have a bowl that I really like.
Okay.
It would probably either be there or some oysters, maybe char-grilled oysters.
Char-grilled oysters are good. What's Dragos or?
I like Dragos. I like Acme.
Okay.
Acme, I think probably I like their flavor the best when they're nice size.
Okay.
Dragos, they hit or miss for me sometimes.
Okay.
And then I like have you been to Jaeger's?
God.
There used to
be a Jaeger's about Lakeside.
It used to be.
That's been
been years.
They still have one?
They have one in Elmwood.
Okay. They do, huh? On the side
too.
On the side when you're coming off the
off the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Dang, I just drive past it.
Yeah. They have good
oysters. Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Union Ramen. I have to try that.
Yes,
okay.
Union Ramen is really good food.
Okay. Okay. So now we made it to the last question.
Okay.
One thing that you've learned about business, or one thing you've learned about Wicks as time has gone on, and then one thing you learned about yourself that you had no idea when you started the business.
I think business has taught me just a lot about not even so much myself but other people. I'm very like trusting with everybody until I don't need to be. And I think I always want to believe the best in people, and just not realizing that a lot of people, when you may get to a certain space in your business, or that people will try to use you for what they can get from you, or if they try to jump on whatever wave they feel like you may be on at that time, or hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you do? And it's like I said, it's been people like, I don't mind, but then it's like I start to see that it's not being reciprocated, and then that's when it's like, okay, so yeah, you wanted me to do this for you, but then when I need you to do or ask you to do, it's like no. So that's been a thing for me, is just trying to really like keep my circle small, because I like watch people online, and I watch a lot of the conversations and just kind of how people move a lot of times. I'm not like in those rooms a lot of times, but I'm paying attention to, different things on social media that I see and stuff like that. Just being careful who I associate myself with, and who I talk to about my business to, things like that, because everybody just don't mean good to you or for you. So those type of things. Also just realizing, I guess, my own strength, dealing with a lot of the things that I've had to deal with as far as setbacks and things like that with the brand. I had a girl told me the other day, she was like, oh, you lost your second store? Oh, I guess God was trying to tell you, you need to leave it alone. And I was kind of like, damn. And I told her, I said, honestly, I don't think that was the lesson. I said, I think the lesson was more for me, and him trying to show me that I needed to believe in myself more, and that I could actually get to this place, that I could do it. I said, because for a long time in the business, I've doubted myself, not even just in business, in life. I've always had issues that I used to deal with, self-esteem issues, and not feeling that I was in a space to, because I went to college for a year or two. I did not finish. I graduated high school. I did okay. I wasn't no top student. So just not feeling like I was able to get to a certain place or be in certain places, and just building confidence in myself over the years. I feel like this whole experience has been just a build in confidence for me, to see that I could do it, and that I could take myself to certain places and get to certain levels. And like I said, just that I could do it, and just being able to believe more in myself and my abilities, and being confident in those things.
That's a great point. I mean, I obviously I've watched, and we've been partnered up, but I've watched you do stuff, and like you inspire me. I mean, I like to be around people I can work with, but I'm also like looking like, your circle, kind of, sort of, you know what I mean? Like, who are you around? And then in the entrepreneur community, I mean, there's only a few people that you can, kind of like you're saying, you really can like really lean in with, and kind of watch that, like kind of on the same wave as you, is not really trying to portray certain, because there's a lot of that where you can pretend like you are doing this or pretend like you're doing that. But like the stuff you've gone through, a lot of people would not shake back. So whoever told you that probably wouldn't have. But that person probably would have stopped before store one.
Right.
Yep. At one comment, somebody told them, and they'd be like, you know what, guy, this person who doesn't know anything about me or my business just said X, Y, and Z. So that I guess that's my sign to stop. Yep. Different strokes for different folks, like my mom used to say. Yep. That's the truth. But like I said, you definitely, what you do and what you've done is inspiring to me. And I'm sure there's people watching. Same way I watch some other people in New Orleans, just like I watch you. I mean, like, I'm sure there's somebody else who's looking, who's like inspired as well, and who's gonna continue on. And it's just kind of a circle, and it just kind of keeps going. Same way you talk about Shark Tank, and a lot of people look at Damon John. Yeah. Like, we look at him like, the pinnacle, and he looks at other people. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of works its way up.
Somebody actually wrote me yesterday from the panel that we did at Naui, saying that she really enjoyed our session. She was like, she wished it had been more than 20 minutes. She was like, I gained more in that 20-minute session that y'all did than I did at a lot of other things that were going on. She was like, just to hear other people talk about those things and those stressors. She's like, to feel like I wasn't by myself. I do have other
Yeah.
people. She said, then to see other local people talking about it, she was like, it was really just a good session. She said, I took away a lot from it. I really enjoy hearing y'all speak and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, that was nice. Just like you said, to know that other people are listening to you, and you may not feel like you're in this space to be able to give advice or to affect people, but you do, just your story, your struggles, the things that you go through, and just being able to be transparent about those things and speak to those things. You never know who you could help or who,
True.
who's listening.
True. Yeah, and I was glad to see, from your mind to an actual panel at Entrepreneur Week, touching on some stuff that is not talked about much in the entrepreneur community. The mental health element or aspect of it, but like this stuff is hard. And I guess you see, again, stuff on social media. I'm not trying to I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but just the thought of showing or pretending or making it seem like you are doing so much and have so much. But it's like, man, for the other 99.9% of people, like they just trying to figure it out. And don't have all the answers.
Right. And like you said, it puts sometimes a lot of unnecessary pressure on people.
Without a doubt.
When you do see, why my business not to this point? Well, I'm doing what's she doing that I'm not doing it. You start to ask questions and doubt yourself. And a lot of times if you aren't strong-minded or don't have a group of people around you to say, oh no, I'm dealing with a lot of the same stuff, or I'm not here yet either, you fall into feeling like, okay, maybe I'm not progressing, or it'll cause you to give up or feel like you're not where you should be because you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, and then you find out these other people not where they acting like they are either.
That's true.
A lot of times because everybody wants to, like I said, it's the highlights. You want to show the highlights and make it seem like you doing this and you doing that, but you don't have hardly none of the stuff you showing, or you got this camera crew following you around like you got it, and you don't. You in the same boat that I am, but you don't know because you thinking this is real. And a lot of times social media is not real. It's not real.
That's true. I heard somebody talked about when you go out, how many burger places do you see? There's a million burgers. So there's enough business
there is
for you. And I think that's something I've had to learn. And it's not that I'm definitely not a jealous person, but you really learn there's enough room for everybody to have opportunities and stuff. There's business you'll get that I'll never get, and vice versa. And I understand that. Yeah. So I'm not if you get something, why didn't I get? That's not for me.
Right.
I wasn't even pursuing that, and vice versa. Some of the stuff you're not even pursuing. So why would you? And I think a lot of people that's another thing is a sense of entitlement, and it's just nah. You got to literally every single day you have to go get it. But the same way you got the Today Show, you didn't plant that seed the week before they emailed you.
Right.
You planted that seed in 2018 when y'all sat down at the house and did the brainstorming session. You planted that seed when y'all opened store one, and when you came in, that's when all that stuff happened. Again, stuff that people don't see or don't know.
Right.
And
people say all the time, people see the glow or whatever, but it's you don't know the story or what I've done or what I've sacrificed, and in all of these things, all of this stuff has a cost, whether it be financial cost, whether it's the cost you to sacrifice with your children, time, all of it. All of that's cost. Is none of it's free. It is a cost. So a lot of it is that grinding, and the night you not getting to sleep, or you having to be away from your kids and your wife, you being here all night or all day and sitting on this computer and trying to get business and going from here to there and talking to this person, and it's a lot. It's a lot to try to grow this into something that then one day you look back and it's damn, how it happened, but you put in a work.
You do.
It's a lot of work. It is. And like you said, people don't talk about it. Mentally, it is stressful. I didn't even realize up until maybe a few months after the situation with the fire, because I kept feeling like I was okay. And then it was not till later that I started thinking I think I might be depressed. I'm not even realizing that this was a loss for me. I hadn't really processed, the grief of, dealing with not, working for months and having that loss of income. And I still have bills. I took out a loan. That's not going to stop. All these people, they still want their money.
Correct.
They don't want to hear that. I still have bills to pay. And then trying to navigate around all of that now, and grieve the fact that I don't have this space that I work so hard to be in. Like, it's a lot, but life still goes on, and you still have demands to meet, and people calling you and emailing you, and it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is.
So
it is. I think one thing I learned, and I'll get to the last question. One thing I learned in a previous like sales job is it's a numbers game. It's all a numbers game. Like, for every opportunity that we get, I mean, how many do you miss? How many people reach out and want to offer, like, buy whatever and don't?
Right.
How many people come to the website per day? I mean, a great conversion rate on the website is like 3 to 5%. It's like 3 to 5%. So that's 1 out of every 20 people. So it's a number. It's just a numbers game. So the more people the more business you want to get, the more people or more failure you will have to have success, if that makes any sense. So
I get it. No, I looked at mine the other day. I was on the phone with my friend. I'm like, girl, it was like last Saturday. I had like 164 people come to my site. I had like 3 sales. I was like, what the fuck? And I'm looking at it like, what am I doing? I was like, I have got to figure this conversion thing out. I'm like, you know what? I look at my numbers here and there, but I hadn't really been like drilling in on them. And I'm like, I got to figure out, like, where's the disconnect? Like, why are these people not completing? Like, if all these people bought, if half of these people bought, like, this would be crazy. I'm like, but out of all these people come to the site, even looking at people that added to cart, but then they fall off. Like, is there something going on with my checkout? Like, I got to figure this shit out, because I'm like, that's a lot of people for me to make 3 sales.
Yeah, but that's still 2%. That's still 2% on the conversion rate. But yeah, that's what
because I'm like asking Shopify. They're like, no, your conversion rates are good. I'm like, how?
That's the conversion rate.
But I guess it's like, I'm like, I guess it's normal behavior for people to come to a site and I do it. Like, I was on here before I came here. I was on there shopping, and then when I got here, I just went off, and I'm probably not gonna go back on it. And I guess that happens to a lot of people. Like, you might start looking at stuff and you get sidetracked, and then you just don't finish it or whatever. But I was just like, man, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. Like,
that you lose on a day-to-day basis that aren't following through.
I would imagine even Amazon's is probably
that's probably crazy.
I'm sure it's high, but like in relationship to how many people go there per day, I'm sure they want to get it. I know they want to get it higher.
Yeah,
there's not a question in my mind.
I start carts on there all the time and don't check out.
But and you may get an email or something, but like even them, like, man, people come and go. Like, just, it's a numbers game. And then it's what are your systems and stuff to make sure you following back up with people. But like, it's a numbers game. And you have to literally fail 98 times to win those 2, but those 2 could be big and make it worth it. And you just have to keep winning the 2% every day.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. Last thing, I swear. What's next for Wicks Nola? And I know you're doing the candle parties now, so that's a different thing. But what's kind of the long-term vision for you?
So, what I want to concentrate now on is the parties have been good, and that's honestly just been a way for me to try to recoup not having storefront location. Because, like I said, that income, I needed to replace that income so that I can continue to grow the business. Because, of course, you need money to grow. But right now, my next focus is going to be on warehouse production space. I want to be able to find a space to meet the needs of being able to be a space to have production, a space for people to locally pick up orders if they need to, and also a space to hold classes. So I want to find like one big space that I can kind of divide off into a couple different things, and then just pushing us to get into more retail stores. I honestly, at this point in my mind, don't want to open another brick and mortar location. So I'm thinking just production, and then getting us into more retail locations so that people will have options on places to go to still be able to shop the product without it having to be housed in a place that I am directly marketing and attending to on a daily basis.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go back in the city, or do you want to be back? What part of the city do you want to be in?
A midpoint would be good. Something like maybe Causeway area.
Okay.
Between there, City Park, Mid-City.
Okay.
Even. Don't have to go way back toward Magazine Street. Again, just like a good central location that's kind of good for everybody to be able to centrally get there. When we were in Canada, people said it was too far, And I get it because a lot of people don't have to come to Kenner no more. It's really not a lot out here. Aside now from the casino, there's no mall. There's no, there's the movie. I mean, pretty much everything is not here. So I understand that. So probably, like I said, Metairie closer to Parish Line.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. So how can folks find you? Where can they?
So we are at on all social media at Wicks Nola 504. Only Twitter is at Nola Wicks. And then website is www.shopwicksnola.com.
Shop Wicks. And usually, sometimes I go in there and just put wicksnola.com, and I'm like, it'll send me somewhere that it's like, this
really?
Is not yeah. I'm like, I keep forgetting the Wicks Nola thing. But thank you. I appreciate you for doing this. It. Yeah. So we are. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Sheaux Some Nola Experience. Don't forget to check us out online at showsomenola.com.